Hey guys, can you see me? All right. It looks like we're on air finally. Had a few technical difficulties this morning, but we're on. So, how you guys doing? Hello, good morning. Just glad to really to see you guys this morning. Let's see. Just waiting for a few people. If you want to just type your names in, tell me where you're from so we can get started. We probably won't have a whole lot of people today, only because today we have. I mean, we've had a lot of people that are requesting an evening session, but there were a number of people that wanted to do the morning session today. A few people, so we decided we would at least open up a morning session this morning. So let me just type in the chat and make sure you guys can see me and hear me. Okay, can you see me? Can you hear me, guys? All right. So, all right. Come on. We're just waiting for a few other people. And let's see. So, what we're going to go over today is a lot of information regarding what it's going to take in order to pick up pick up a rent to own or seller finance piece of property, whether it's ours or someone else, and whether you have not so great credit without a whole lot of money to put down and without the need for a bank. So we're going to go over that today. And then what we're also going to do is what I also want you to do is I want you to take notes because I got a lot of information. I'm going to share a ton of stuff with you today. So I want you to take notes. But what I'm also going to ask you is a couple things. One is that if you can just if you got Facebook turned on or if you got your chat turned on, I would just ask if you could get rid of those things just for now. I would encourage you to do that just because it can be a distraction. And if you're really serious about picking up a home or about acquiring, getting that place of your own without the need for, again, a bank or large down payment or to have to deal with cleaning up all your credit issues before you do that, then I think right now what you want to do is you want to focus, right? So I want you to focus today. The second thing is I for you to do is to interact with me, right? I want you to interact. So in your chat box, I'm going to ask you, as I'm talking, it just helps me to know that you're engaged, right? So in my chat box, I'm going to ask you guys to just interact. And at times I'm gonna just ask you for different things. So feel free to do that, and it just keeps me kind of going too as well. And then lastly, I just want to tell you that by the time that this workshop is done, you'll have the ability to acquire your rent to own seller finance property within the next 14 to 21 days. So and that's a promise that I'm making to you, and I'm going to come back to that promise as well a little bit a few times throughout this workshop just to make sure that I'm being held to that. Okay, so with all that said, what I'm going to do now is we're going to start preparing really for the training. I'm going to so that I don't continue to get distracted, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the webcam, and then we're going to get going with the presentation. But the but I think what I want to do first before we do that is I am going to still wait for a few other people because I'm still waiting. So with that, go ahead and just type in your names and let me just load up the presentation. So let's see. So that the presentation, while it's up. Just to give you a little bit of again idea. It's gonna, you're gonna be on. We're probably gonna be on for about an maybe a little bit more than an hour. I'm going to be going with the training, and then at the end, there's a couple things I'm also going to offer you at the end as well. There's some free things that I'm giving away so that you guys, just to reward you guys that have at least endured to the end, right? And but again, I say that jokingly when I say endure, just because I recognize how important it is to you all. Two things. One, if you're just an owner occupant and you're really just looking to acquire that home for you and your family, I recognize how important that is, right? And so I jokingly say that. But then you have another group that's on as well, and that other group is the investor, whether it be the investor that's a new to the game, or one that's more seasoned. The investor that's new to the game, you're just it's that first property, right? Being able to get that, and you may not have a whole lot of resources, and we're going to talk about that a little bit, but you really want to get to a point where you can get started, right? You can have that place, and so I recognize how important this is, and so with that, the presentation is loaded now, and then if you're the seasoned investor, then really looking for tools so that you can you know begin to get out of the rat race, right? So I get it, and I know how important this is. So with saying that, now that the presentation is uploaded, let me go to that first, and then we'll get into it. Okay, guys, so let's see. First, let me just start off by introducing myself. I'm James Graham from Jim G's Coaching Club. And I want to welcome you all to my 30-day seller finance training webinar. This workshop is something that I'm super excited about. And the reason is because the topic is one of my passions. I love real estate because it's a gift that God has blessed me with for financial independence, building wealth, and more importantly, as a vehicle to support my family and my lifestyle for the last 20 years. But not only that, it's also given me the opportunity to meet many wonderful people in business and to be able to give back. And so one of the ways that I've been able to give back using real estate started back in 2014. The Spirit led me to begin taking my properties and converting it over to help the homeless. And since then, that has grown into a homeless ministry where I now house, mentor, feed, clothe, and temporarily employ homeless men and women in my city of Rochester, New York. So here's a picture of one of my guys. He was just he had just moved in, and he asked me to take a picture with him. You can see I didn't have a whole lot of choice because as you look to the right, you can see how much bigger Charles is. On the right, you'll see a picture of us counseling some of our guys. We do life counseling, spiritual counseling. The next here is you'll see on your right, you'll see us serving with one of the ministries, the Father's Heart Ministry, and Russ does a great job. We serve, hot food, groceries, clothing, in the middle of dead winter, on the street to those that are needy. And the Father's Heart and Russ just has a real heart for that ministry as well. And then on the left, you'll see that where we're serving with some of our kids at the city mission. And what's kind of cool about this is that one of my local RIAs approached me to ask them if I could help them with their community service initiatives. And so I got them involved with this, and now they come alongside of me and serve with me as well. So that's pretty awesome. Here is where you see where we do chapel service. I hold chapel service the second Monday of every month here at the Open Door Mission, and it gives me an opportunity to encourage the men and women that are there, and again, to do the thing that I'm really most passionate about, and that's sharing the love of Christ. along with the gospel, right? So that is the gospel, the love of Christ. So here is where you have we have a few of our guys that are working on the left. They're working on. I do some as I mentioned, I give them temporary work and keep some money in their pockets at times. And so if I, when I have projects, I give them that opportunity. And here they did some siding if they have the skill sets, right? If they don't have the skill sets, but many of them do. And then on the right, you'll see where they're working on one of my garage roofs. And then finally, what we have here is I took them all out on family night to see the Rochester Red Wings, which is our minor league team for the Minnesota Twins. And it was just a great night, and where we just hung out, right? It's just had fun. So the presentation is also a way that I just showed you all those pictures of how I use real estate to give back. But this presentation is also one of my ways that I have the opportunity to give back. Again, I've been blessed with the ability to have exposure to so many deals by way of the over 700 profitable creative real estate transactions that I've personally done for myself. So I can share different techniques, secrets, and resources with people who have something to gain from my knowledge and my experience. So what I'm sharing today is titled the 30-Day Seller Finance Masterclass. And what I'll be teaching you is how to acquire property using unconventional, non-traditional methods that don't require banks or large down payments or great credit scores. This information session is for anyone who wants to acquire property but can't or refuses to jump through all the agonizing hoops that the traditional bank processes put us through. And that's to include the big 5 to 20% down payments, the need for 700 plus credit scores, and many of the people that can't meet that criteria or simply choose not to use the traditional bank methods are not necessarily people that don't deserve to own a home. In fact, most of the people that I speak with, work with, and train to become homeowners meet the real criteria that's important to home ownership. And that's three things. One is the ability to afford the home, which is you have stable, verifiable income that can support what it takes to live there, right? The second is the ability to take care of a home. In the event something goes wrong, you need to cut the grass, you need to paint, a gutter falls down and you need to get it back up or pay someone to get it back up. You're not dependent on the landlord to do those things. And the reality is those are things that just come with home ownership. And then the third thing is the need along with the desire to have a home, right? Many people can afford to own a home, can afford to take care of a home, but there's some people that really don't have a true need or a real desire. They're just kind of looking to get one because it seems like it's what everyone else is doing, or it might be the right thing to do, or it's just easy. It's an easy process, at least with us. And if that's really the reason why, I'd recommend you not go through it. We really want to work with people that truly have a desire and a need to own a home. So that's both person who's just looking to get a place of their own where you can be proud to finally say you own it, that it's yours. And then you have the investor. So there's two groups of people that we work with. The owner occupant, which, as you're here today and you're listening to this workshop, a lot of things that we're going to talk about are going to pertain to you because it all pertains to our properties and our methods to getting one of the properties or properties that we don't own, right? And our methods to doing that so that you can get that first place, right? That first place of your own. But there are going to be some things that are relative to investors that we're going to be talking about, and just kind of bear with us because it's still all going to apply, even if you're not looking to use real estate as a way to become financially independent, right? So just kind of listen to those things because the light bulb is going to go on in some instances and in others, it's, just see it as a way for you to obtain your first property. But the investor, who's the other group, like myself, who either wants or are currently using real estate as a vehicle for financial independence to support their lifestyle and to build significant wealth. And there are two types of investor groups. The new investor, just starting out like I was, without a lot of knowledge or experience or credit or cash reserves to buy using the traditional methods. So you need the non-traditional methods to get that first one. You just need to get that first one. And then there's the other investor who has the resources, little bit more seasoned, has the experience. Even you may own some properties, but you're either limited by the bank's ceiling, which only allows for a certain number of investment property mortgages, and or you've either reached that limit, or what you're looking to do is just leverage the capital that you currently have, the cash reserves that you have, so that you can accelerate your cash flow and gives you more of the ability to build wealth by the power of multiplication, right? So what do I mean by that? So if you're someone that has, say, 10, 15, $20,000 to put down on a piece of property, using the traditional methods, it will allow you to pick up maybe one or two pieces of property depending on how much the property is valued at, because of, you'll have to put a certain percentage down and then the bank will come and finance the rest, right? And so what happens with that, so you'll be able to pick up, maybe again, one or two pieces of property, and what you're going to get on a monthly basis is a positive cash flow, say of roughly around $400 a month, right? After the mortgage is paid and all the bills. But using the non-traditional methods that I use and that I've perfected over the years, you have the ability now to take that $10, $15, $20,000 and spread it over 10, 15, 20 properties, because now you only need a significant amount less in deposits to pick up just the one property. So you can use that and purchase multiple properties. And so now instead of having maybe $400 or $600 in positive cash flow because you put more down on the property, you might only have $250 to $300 in positive cash flow. But think about that. If you have $250 in positive cash flow every month, and you've multiplied that by 10 properties that you've been able to pick up, now that's $2,500 a month versus the $400 or the $800 if you bought two properties using traditional methods. So $2,500 versus $800, big difference. But wait, there's one other piece too. The appreciation. You get 3 to 7% on average appreciation on every property that you purchase. And if it's $100,000 piece of property, every year your property, if it's say 5% on average of what you're getting in appreciation, 5% is $5,000 that's added to your equity every year, right? And so that's something that now when you look at that, you spread that over 10 properties, you multiply that by 10, your net worth is growing by $50,000 a year. So that's the power of multiplication. That's how you accelerate your cash flow so that you can now become financially independent and now just be able to depend on your real estate income and fire your boss and build wealth so that over time you're able to cash out and do a lot of other things with your life, right? Based on what the dreams are that you and your family have. And so we talk about two things. I talk about firing a few people in this presentation, right? First people we talk about firing is your landlord, right? Why do I say that? We want to get you to fire your landlord because in talking with all of you, and as much as I talk to you guys on a regular basis, I get people that are just ticked off because their own vision of either owning their own home or becoming financially independent. right? And so, and then again, um, firing your boss. You also have people that, that are out there that just, they're burning the candle on both ends, and they're just on that treadmill, that financial, on that life's treadmill, that life's hamster wheel, where there's just seemingly there's no end in sight. And they don't have enough income on the side to be able to not work, right? So they're putting all this time and energy into that, when they would love to be able to just put it into the things that can help them to live that life of passion using their real estate resources. So, which one of these categories do you fall into? Do you, are you the owner occupant who just wants a piece of the American dream? So, as I mentioned earlier, right before we started, I'm going to ask you guys some questions. Let me know, right? Which one do you fall into? Can you just interact with me, right? Tell me, are you the owner occupant? Are you the investor, right? Are you the owner occupant that's just looking, again, for that American dream, where you want to be able to provide a place for your family, for you, that you can call your own? You want to be able to fire your landlord, right? Give me a hashtag in the chat box. Give me a hashtag fire my landlord if that's you, right? Or are you the investor who's looking to use real estate as that vehicle for financial independence and to build wealth, right? Give me a hashtag build wealth. Give me a hashtag financial independence. Give me a hashtag fire my boss if that's you, right? If that's you. So as I mentioned earlier, I bought and sold over 700 properties for myself at one point, and had over 350 units in my portfolio. So what you can expect from me today is to get the meat and the bones of the things that really work. I'm going to lay it all out to you today, the non-traditional, the unconventional strategies, techniques, and resources that I use and have used to buy and sell so many properties over the years. And so by the end of this workshop, there's two promises I want to make for you to you guys right now. By the end of this workshop, you'll see that everything that I'm explaining to you, I make it very simple, right? Our process, my systems that I've developed make it very simple for you, right? And then the second is, by the end of this workshop, if you just follow my instructions, if you just listen to the guidance that I can give you, you'll be fully equipped to acquire your next rent to own seller finance property in the next 14 to 21 days, using my win-win principles and what I like to call my Oscar winning methods, right? And I call it Oscar, and I'll tell you why in a bit, right? But before we get started, there's a couple things I do want to tell you, just a little bit about myself, so that you have some idea of my background and how I got here. I started in my real estate journey back in 1988, when on a cold winter day in Buffalo, New York, my phone rang, and it was my mother. She asked if I was sitting down because she had some really bad news for me. I said yes, and I remember to this day, my heart dropped to my stomach, because she never gave me bad news that way. It was just before noon on a Saturday morning, and I was actually laying down in my room of my small off-campus apartment that I shared with my housemate Luis. He was from Venezuela. She said to me that she went to the doctor, and they diagnosed her with a disease that at that time no one knew much about. But most people who got it usually died within a year or two. I was devastated, and I cried like a baby. And so when we did finally hang up, all kinds of things just ran through my mind. But the one thing that drove me the most was the big question: how am I going to take care of my younger brother or sister if my mom dies? Right? And so I was already in the Army Reserves. I enlisted a couple years prior to have some extra income while I was in college. But outside of that, I didn't have a job, and I was still about a year or so from graduating. But the thing was, I was a horrible student, to say the least. I studied way too little and I played way too much. So I made a decision that day that I needed to be in a situation. I need to get myself in a situation where I could take care of my mom and my siblings and do it quickly. So that same day, I heard an infomercial on TV, and it was from a real estate guru at that time. His name was Carlton Sheets. And what the information, what the infomercial was about was how to buy property, no money down. And after watching it, I knew it was for me. I ordered the course with the little money that I had. And when I got it, I studied it harder than anything I studied before. I left school that summer. I got a job and I began making offers using Carlton's no money down techniques. And after about a year of making offers, I finally got my first one. I was 21 years old. I learned a lot about perseverance as I began placing offers. So, and it took me, again, it took me a long time to get my first one. I say a long time. And, but it was an amazing feeling when I first got it. And I'm sorry, I was 22, not 21. It was an amazing feeling, right? But the whole purpose that I did it was so that I could take care of my family, right? My mom did decide after about a year that she wasn't going to move back to Buffalo. However, my younger brother graduated from high school and he came to live with me. My sister stayed in Schenectady with my mom. So let me just explain what I did with this place, right? And it's all a backdrop to what is going to what's going to resonate with you when I get into the training. What I did with this place, it was a single family house, as a cape, and it had an unfinished upstairs. What I did, me and my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, we went on to remodel the house. We increased the value, and then I refinanced it. I paid off the seller held mortgage, and I used $18,000 cash that I was able to take out that was left in the equity to buy another property down the street. And then the rest was history, in a sense that once I saw that it worked, I kept on doing it. But here's the kicker. It took me 9 years, another 9 years, to finally become financially independent, right? And what happened was I learned a couple of lessons that helped get me there, right? And those lessons were that were taught to me because of corporate America. What I did was as my military experience taught me the value of hard work, and my experience doing the Carlton Sheets creative real estate deals taught me the benefits of working smart. The combination of those two qualities helped me to rise through the ranks of corporate America. So early in my real estate endeavors, I convinced myself that I wanted to buy lots of real estate, right? So it started off, how did it start off? Me just wanting the one property. Then after doing it, I finally just convinced myself I wanted to use real estate as my method for financial independence, right? And so, but I convinced myself that I needed to get a job in order to do that. So I went into banking, and so that I can learn about money if I was going to work, so that I could be in an industry where I can learn about money and how to access it. So after a few years of working for one of the major U.S. banks, first as a teller, then as a mortgage file clerk, I was eventually I applied for this prestigious management training the position, and there was only 10 people that were selected that year out of hundreds of applicants all over the country, and one of them was me. And that was a pretty big feat because everyone that was selected had their either their bachelor's or their master's degree, and I hadn't even finished college yet, right? So that was great. When I did go on to finish the management training program, then I got an opportunity to choose what division of the bank I wanted to work in, and so I chose commercial lending. And um and it was, it was great. Um, Once I chose that line of business, they then packed up all my stuff from Buffalo. They bought out my house that I bought down the street from this one. I was still living there, right? They bought out my house and they moved me and my newlywed wife and my newborn child to Rochester, New York, where I was able to help them to grow their market presence here. So I went from making $21,000 as a mortgage file clerk 18 months prior to now making over $100,000 in salaries and bonuses, right? But I kind of took my eye off the prize because it started, there was a lot of perks that came with that job. I was able to play golf at the best country clubs. I was able to, with my clients, I was able to go to NFL and MLB games at our corporate suites with our clients, eating lunch and dinner at the finest restaurants with our clients. And that was all on the bank's dollar because that was my job, right? As I'm lending millions of dollars to these people, and as a bank lender and vice president. And so, but after 2 years of having record years in account growth, loans made, and money that we brought in for the bank, a reality check that I was always afraid of smacked me right across the face. And that reality was that someone else, still in this case the bank, controlled my income. So what happened was one year during our quarterly bonus payout period, the bank decided after we brought in all this new business that they were going to change how they were calculating the bonuses and made the changes retroactive. And unfortunately, these changes meant that instead of me getting my bonus for $25,000, which I was supposed to be paid pretty within the next week or two, it was now only going to be about $8,000. So after jumping through a few hoops and having to justify um, that I was supposed to get that money, I did finally get it. But but I said to myself, it would never happen again. And um, and so I dusted off my real estate stuff and I got busy building up my portfolio. But now my efforts were on steroids because I learned a few things from corporate America over the last years about systems and about numbers. So in the next 12 months, I began buying and selling part time. And that was kind of really almost full time because what I did was I would just leave the bank at the end of my workday, and I got right to working and putting in offers and closing deals, sometimes until about 1 o'clock in the morning. Then back at 8 o'clock in the morning to the bank. To make a long story short, after a year of doing deals, I made over $300,000 with flips. And in January of 2000, I handed in my letter of resignation, and I never looked back. And so, how did I do that? Right? You might ask, how did I do that, and how is it relevant to you? Well, I did it using the win-win principles that we're going to be talking about today, and using, again, it's not on here, my Oscar method that we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to tell you in a minute what my Oscar winning methods are. But the key was to rent to own and seller finance. That's how I was able to make the $300,000 when I resigned from the bank a year after I started developing the system. And every time I did it, every time I closed a deal, it just got better and better and better. And so what happened was it was a buyer's market then. There were a lot of properties out there on the market for sale when back in 1999. And And I mean, they were on the market for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, some for a year. So what I would do is I would put in offers for those properties, right, to pick them up because you had motivated sellers. But I also knew that I could get those properties well below market value. The key was, what would I do with them? I wasn't using them just for rental because rental income wasn't going to make me $300,000 that quick. So I looked at the win-win principles that I learned when I bought my first property. And the win-win principles were that the person that sold me that house using seller finance, he got what he wanted, which was a win, and I got what I wanted, which was a win. What he wanted was, remember I told you, I bought the house and I paid $32,000 for the house. That was full market value. My win was I got it for what I got it. I didn't get it at a discount, but I got it for a down payment of only $500. Also, I didn't have to go through a bank. I didn't have credit to go through a bank, and it was quick. I was able to get in less than 30 days. Those were my wins. So he got what he wanted. He got full market value, and I got what I wanted using the win-win principles, right? So I looked at how many other people are out there that were like me, right? How many other people believe that they couldn't get a property without using the bank? How many people thought that because of their credit or just their lives, mistakes in the past, they would have to wait until they get it all resolved before, or have a bunch of money saved up before they could acquire a piece of property that they can call their own? And what I realized is that there are a ton of people out there. There are a ton of people. So I started picking up those properties, and then I would sell them using the win-win principles to the people that were in that situation that needed them, right? So now what was happening is I created win-win-win. The people that had their properties on the market for a year, I was able to pick up those properties and close within 30 days. It started off about a little bit more than 60 days, the first couple that I did. And then we just systemized it where I was able to get it down to about 30 days in most cases, right? And the people that were winning on the other side were getting the houses with low down payments. They were getting the houses without having a need for great credit. They were able to move in quickly, and it was affordable. Right? They were able to afford it. That was a win. And then I won because I was able to make the difference of what I was selling. Remember, I sold it to them at full market. I was picking them up. I was acquiring them. Now let me tell you the difference between buying and acquiring, right? Because this isn't really about buying houses today, right? It's really about acquiring. And acquiring, in some instances, you are going to be buying, but in some instances, if you're using rent to own, you're not buying. You're gaining possession and control. If you're using rent to own, if you're using lease options, you're gaining possession and control. If you're using seller finance, or if you're using land contracts, then you're still buying. But in the end, when you're doing rent to own or sell or lease options, you have possession and control, and you know that that's leading into you eventually buying that house. So it's still going to be yours, right? And so what we did was we acquired the properties. The sellers knew that I wasn't going to be the one buying that house, right? And I made it clear to them. I had people that were going to be buying it from me so that I can buy it from them. And so I didn't have to come up with anything more than a couple $100 just to lock in my contracts with these people. So that's what we did. And what I did with the buyers is most of them, the finance companies and the resources that I had, was able to get them the financing that they needed to put them in the properties. Now, we don't have to always do that. That's not necessarily what I do today, but that's the strategy that I used then. So everyone that I worked with, I was able to get them enough, not 100% of the financing, but enough of the financing where it could pay for what was needed to close on that property. And then I would have to hold some paper on a seller finance basis, right? And that's how it worked. And so I did what, 12, 13 of those deals over that year, and I made 300 grand, right? And it was using the win-win principles. I created win-win-win relationships, and that's how it worked. And so how does that sound to you? Does it make sense when we talk about acquiring versus buying? Does that make a little bit of sense to you? Because, a lot of times people are out there talking about buying, and it's really not about buying. It's about gaining access to the properties, right? So let's talk about the foundation and, again, why I do it this way. I'm going to talk to you about two things, right? First, my attorney back then, his name was Mike Kelleher. As I got a year into making all these offers, and they kept getting denied and denied and denied, because I had no one to guide me, really. All I had was cassettes and books, right? I started getting pretty discouraged. And I remember Mike said to me, he said, Jim, he said, if, I see how hard you've been working. I see that you've been so diligent. You're approaching this thing honest, from an honest perspective. And, I don't want you to get discouraged. I see the discouragement coming. In fact, if you find another property, and it's something that makes sense, I'll help you with the financing. For me, that was the encouragement I needed, right? I put in the next offer, and the beauty of it was I didn't need Mike on that next deal because it was accepted, and it was accepted by the next person, Ender Malik. And he was the seller that did the first seller finance deal, that sold me my first home. And it was on a win-win basis, right? And I explained to you the wins. Ender's win, using the win-win principles. Ender's win is, again, he got a passive investment. He didn't have any maintenance. He didn't have any expenses. Everything was covered, and he was able to cash out in less than 2 years, a little bit more than a year. My win was that I got a low down payment. It was affordable, and that I didn't need a bank to get into my place. And then I was able to cash out $18,000 in less than a year, about a year later, and pay off Ender and buy another property down the street. I used this one. I rented it out because we refinished the upstairs, turned it into a studio apartment, and we rented both units out. And that's how it all started for me, right? And so, but using these two methods, I was able to, as a buyer and a seller, using these methods, the win-win methods that I've developed over the years, and I've almost perfected, I've bought and I've sold nearly 700 properties. And I've made millions for me and others buying and selling using these strategies. But a disclaimer that I have for you guys is that I don't necessarily use the same exact methods that I'm going to be teaching today in every case, right? And the reason I say that is because those resources I've graduated from in many cases, right? But they're still applicable, right? They're still applicable if you're just trying to pick up your first one or your first couple of properties. They still work, right? And I'm also not trying to buy 50 to 100 deals a year. And so, my programmers have programmed some things into my website. I have also assistants and technology that allow me that when I'm looking for something, I can do things a little bit differently than I did them way back when, or some of the things I'm going to be showing you today. But if there's something that I'm not using, I'll let you know. And the things that I am using, you'll know. So with that, I want you to know that. How's that sound? Is that all right? Is that okay? So let's get started with the training, because really this is really about you, right? This is about you. And there's 3 things that you're going to need to acquire property in the next 14 days from today. And the first thing is you need the property. The second thing is you need the proper paperwork. And then the third thing is you need the ability to close. And what does that mean? So the property. On the property side, we got you covered, right? If you go to our website, if you've already been there, most of you have already been there, you're going to see that we have a number of properties out there that's available, and that's all across the country. On the website, you'll be able to go on, you'll be able to look inside, you'll be able to look outside the property, see pictures. And then depending on what state you're in, you can click on one of the links, and then it'll take you to the state, and then it'll show you what we have. And some of the properties that you see on there are going to be properties that we own. Some of the properties that you see on there are going to be properties that we've identified fit the seller finance or rent to own model so that we can help you get into them, right? Some of them are with people that we've developed relationships with. Some of them are with corporations, our asset managers that we've developed relationships with. One of the things I'll tell you though is if we're showing you properties on there, if they're not ours, or we don't have some sort of ownership rights to the property, if we're referring a property to you, we're not getting a referral fee, right? We don't make money on that. Okay, so I just want you to know that so that you know we're only referring you because it really fits the profile of what the needs of our clients are, you guys, our students. So that's the first part, the property. You have access to them, and you go on, you can use them for free. You can use the website for free. The second is the paperwork. Now, whether it be us or some of the asset managers that we work with, when you're going through the process of acquiring the property, it's pretty simple. The way when you go on the site, you go on our site, you look at the property, you see it's something that fits your profile, then the steps are relatively easy. What you're going to do is we would encourage you to get in, take a look through the property. So not just online, but go over to the property, schedule an appointment, go over and walk through it. Now, if you're an investor, a lot of our investors, they're buying properties all over the country, so they don't necessarily have the luxury of being able to get through. So if that's you, it's not necessary, you don't have to. When I buy nationally, I don't go through the properties either. But as an owner occupant, then I want you to walk through it. Then after you walk through, you decide it's something you want, then what you're going to do is you're going to go online, go back online, and you're going to submit your offer. Right now, let's talk about win-win, because this is the important part. This is one of the important pieces. Remember when I talked to you about Ender, right? And his win. His win was that he wanted to get full market value for his property, right? When you go online, you're going to be able to see the purchase price that we have it up for. You can come in and you can offer less. However, what I would just help you to understand is that you don't want to go in gouging me or gouging whoever the seller is on price. If you are in a situation where it's affordable, right? The house is affordable. You're not paying more than market value. Now, your offer still may get accepted, right? So you can still offer something less. Your offer still may get accepted, but if there's someone else that comes in with an offer within that 3-day time, because it typically takes about 3 to 5 days before you get your acceptance back, right? But if there's someone else that comes in within that time and that offers the full amount, then there, most cases, that offer is going to get accepted over yours. That's just something you have to reconcile with yourself and decide how you want to approach the offer. But you make the offer, and within 3 to 5 days, you'll get your acceptance back. Then step 2 is once you make that offer and you get your acceptance back, you're going to have to just fill out the paperwork online, and then you're going to send in a portion. You're going to pay a portion of, not send in, but pay a portion of your down payment. The down payment is typically, and it's different for every property, but the down payment is going to be typically between $1,500, $2,500. Right. And so you're going to pay a portion of that. And then within 72 hours after receipt of that, you're going to get your paperwork so that you can start moving toward closing. And then once all that paperwork is received and it's completed, then you're going to send in, you're going to be sending in the rest of your down payment. And then once you're doing that, the only thing you're focused on is closing at that point. So within the next 14 to 21 days after getting that paperwork, you can have the keys in your hand and be moving into your home. That's how the process works. How's that sound? Does it sound simple? It is. It's pretty simple. So I talked to you about two things. One is you're going to need the property. Two is you're going to need the paperwork. And three is you're going to need the ability to close. Well, as I go back for a second and we talk about, this process online, if we have properties that are available for you on our site, then what's going to happen is that's how it works, right? That's how the process works. And it's really simple. You're going to be handheld by the owner, by the asset manager, by ourselves, whoever is the owner of that property. You're going to be handheld through the process. And it's going to be real smooth because our wins are we want to get market value for the property, and we want the process to move quickly and smoothly. Those are our wins. Every seller, however, when you're dealing with private sellers, don't have the same wins, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. But those are our wins. So now let me talk a little bit about Oscar. No, I'm gonna wait about Oscar. I'm gonna wait one more. Give me a few more minutes. So those are our wins, right? And the reason I talk about that, part of the way we keep the process simple and quick is that we make that ability to close quick because we systemize it. So you're going to need an attorney or you're going to need a title company depending on what state you're in. Now, it's up to you. If you decide you want to get one, we will not ever recommend that you don't. But because we have a lot of those things in place, then what we do is you can just use ours, and that will save you on money, and it'll keep the process continue to be simple and quick. That's how that works. So three things I said you're going to need: the property, the paperwork. You won't really necessarily need to come up with your own paperwork when you're dealing with these properties because we have it all. It's all standard. And then three is the ability to close. And we make that process simple for you as well. But what happens when you go on and you don't see a property in there that either is available for you or doesn't fit your profile? Well, then that means you still need property, and you're still going to need paperwork, and you're going to need the ability to close. And so from a property perspective, one of the things is there are so many properties out there that are available. You just need to know how to identify them, and you need to know how to approach the seller. And so that's where you need the proper paperwork. So one of the things you guys are going to get is what we call my $1 million purchase agreements. And I call them my $1 million purchase agreements not because I've spent $1 million on them, and it's not because I buy $1 million properties with them. I call them my $1 million purchase agreements because I've used them for over 20 years, and I've made millions of dollars with them. Right? I bought millions and millions of dollars worth of properties with these documents. The first document I call my letter of intent, and then the second document I call my purchase offer. And this is now how we can start talking about Oscar, right? Oscar stands for offers that the sellers can't refuse. So an offer that the seller can't refuse. So you're going to use our win-win strategy, and you're going to use our Oscar winning methods the same way we've used, so that you are going to end up acquiring the property even if it's not one that we own, right? And so our paperwork, the letter of intent and the purchase agreement, the $1 million purchase agreements, that's what you're going to use in order to get those sellers and or landlords to say yes, right? The same way that I approached Ender is the same way we're going to be approaching private sellers if there's not something that you see on our site. And it's not much different than when you're talking to a landlord, right? And so what happens is when we find a piece of property that fits your profile, we approach the seller or the landlord, asking them in a certain way. We do it a certain way, asking them if they're going to do the rent to own or seller finance for us. And when we do it properly, they say yes. the ones that we approach, because we know how to identify them, if it doesn't, they don't always say rent to own or seller finance. There's many of them out there that won't say that it's rent to own or seller finance, but they're very open to it. So when you know how to approach it, when you know how to identify them, then they say yes. However, just because they say yes, they're interested, that they would consider it, it doesn't mean that they will, because how you follow up after that is the key. And so our letter of intent is how we do that, right? One of the things we're going to do is we're going to approach that seller with the letter of intent, make that offer. We're not going to tell them how much we want to offer. And I'm not going to turn you into someone that becomes like I was, just making offers for a year, right? What we're going to do is you're going to become a problem solver, right? You're going to become a listener, right? And that's what we teach you how to do, become a listener. Understand what their big win is. Remember, I told you it's about win-win, using the win-win strategy. And every seller doesn't have the same win. So here's an example. This is a letter of intent that we submitted. I did this deal with a friend of mine. He came to me and said, "Hey, Jim, I have a property that I'm looking at purchasing, and me and my wife, we want to maybe downsize and move into it." And so he said, is it possible you can help me? And I said, sure. And so his name was Greg, and Greg owned a couple properties as a landlord, but he didn't really, as an investor, he wasn't out there buying and selling and doing that. His big thing was he's a lender, right? And so I said, you know what I'll do, Greg, is I'll put the offer together and I'll even meet with you. And he said, "Oh wow, would you do that?" I said, yeah, because I wanted to show him and teach him how this is done so that he could do it himself. And so I asked who the seller's name was, and I told him, let's set up an appointment to have a conversation with her on the phone. So what we did was we gave Mary a call. Her name was Mary, and we talked for 15 minutes. So we did. We talked for 15 minutes to find out what her big win was. And what I found out was that this property was a property that Mary didn't own. What happened was her ex-husband, who died and left this property, and she was the next of kin, along with their son that was disabled. So it was her responsibility as the next of kin. She was asked, well, she wasn't really next of kin because she was his ex-wife, but she was the closest next of kin, and she was asked if she could take care of this to settle the estate so that their disabled son could have the proceeds from it. And so that was what Mary's situation was. And what her win was, she wanted this process to go smooth. She wanted to get as much as she could for the property without having to go through a whole lot of heartache and headache to make it happen. So in finding that, we made her an offer that was good with respect to the purchase price she wanted to get. And then looking at the other things that she needed, we looked at how we could also probably solve that as well. And so as we do that, what I don't do is I don't make Mary an offer. I didn't make her an offer over the phone, but what we did was we said, okay, thanks, Mary. We'll get back to you. And the way we got back to her was we scheduled another opportunity to sit and meet. Now, normally I don't do that. Normally I will submit that offer by, via email, right? My letter of intent, I will submit it via email. And then, we get the conversation going using the letter of intent, right? To make sure we're in line with those things that we uncovered when we sat and spoke. And so, but because I wanted Greg to be involved and to learn how it works, we had another sit down with Mary and presented the LOI in person. And when I make an offer, here's part of the Oscar strategy. The offer that the seller can't refuse. So when we make the offer, the letter of intent is designed to do two things. It's designed to build credibility for you and for me, right? For us, because when we approach them, now they're seeing we're not just making them an offer. But the letter of intent is also designed so that they can see that it encompasses the things that they need. And we're not just giving them an offer that says we're offering you $70,000 on a house. We're giving them an offer that says we're offering you this and this, or we're offering you this and that. So they don't have the opportunity to just say, no, I don't want that. Their only options are to say either yes or yes. I like this, or you know what? I like this one better, because each one of those things encompasses what they told us when we spoke that they needed. Right. And so in this case, we offered her money and we offered her the ability not to have to go in and fix everything so that she can, so that we could buy it, to include, debris removal and the garage that needed repairing. And, she didn't have to do the rehab. But we also offered her something else. We offered her more money on the other option where she could go in and do that if she wanted. We also offered to pay some of her closing costs, so she didn't have to deal with that, right? So she didn't have to deal with what sellers normally have to deal with, which is ordering a new title, ordering a new survey. We would take care of that and absorb the cost for doing it. Wasn't that much money, right? So now we're giving them what they want, their big want, but then we're offering these other things. That's how we develop the offer they can't refuse. And so the LOI is designed to build credibility, to start to formulate what that offer is going to be. And the other thing it's designed to do is to start the conversation so that they can say, okay, yeah, that, I like this, or can we change that? So that now when we do it, when we walk away this time, we're going to give them that. They're going to take it back with them. They don't have to say yes that day. We're not looking for a yes that day, but we give them 24 to 48 hours to say yes. So that's on the LOI, right? So now they have this thing. They don't just have us telling them what we're going to pay for it. They have this thing that outlines all the things that they wanted and needed, maybe with some adjustments. And they're thinking about this now. They're thinking about it when they're sleeping, because it's in their hand, it's tangible, right? They're thinking about it when they're eating. They're thinking about it when they're using the toilet. They're thinking about it when they're in the shower, right? And they're thinking about it even more so because they know they have a deadline that they have to come back with a response, right? And so that's the power of the LOI. The power of the LOI is that it's something tangible and it's a formal document. And then when they come back and say, like Mary said, she said, actually, guys, let me just think about it a little bit more. I like it, but I just need a little bit more time because I'm going to be traveling. And we said we weren't in a rush, right? And we said, okay, that's not a problem. So eventually what we did, though, is Mary came back and she said yes. So we offered Mary $71,000 for this property. But here was the kicker too. After she said yes and we put the purchase offer together, which she helped to construct, because she came back and she asked us to go up a little bit in our price, and we had some room, so we did, right? But after she came back and said yes and we said yes, we got her the offer, and then Greg comes back to me and says, hey, James, we're not going to be moving in the house, so we need another strategy because I don't know what we're going to do with the property. And I said, well, if you want to sell it, we can make some significant money on it pretty quickly. And he goes, we can? I said, yeah. I said, I can sell it pretty quickly. He goes, all right, good. So once he gave me the thumbs up, what we did was we sold it to another buyer, right? And 3 days later, they were walking through and we were doing purchase agreements, which I'll show you in a second. But here's the win. Mary got her win, right? She didn't have to go in and do any work to the property. She got the property for $71,000. Our win was we got it for $500 down, and then the other $70,500 we didn't have to come up with until closing. Does it sound a little bit like what I showed you, how I started way back when? Remember, I told you we sold the property a few days later, and the new buyer bought it from us for $89,000, $90,000. We sold it for $71,000. They bought it for $90,000. So that's a $19,000 profit. They gave us $1,000 down. Remember, we put down $500. They gave us $1,000 down, and within 24 hours of their acceptance, they were coming up with $4,000. Now, this was a buyer that, using some of our other resources, we had the ability to get them private funding funding. They wanted that, right? So and so we were able to cash out on this within less than 30 days. We were able to cash out, and when we cashed out, they got the property. It was a win-win-win, same thing. They got the property that was affordable for them, right? They got it for, and this was the LOI. They got it for $89,000. They came up with $5,000 down, and their monthly payments were affordable for them. But here's the other thing: that property that they went into, the property was one that they wanted to update the kitchen and do some other work on the garage. They were going to put about $10,000 into it. So we got them some funding for that as well. That property, after they put their 10,000 in, so they had in 100,000 total, with what they bought it for and the work that they did, the property was worth 135,000 after they were done. So they got some really big wins from that. They won, Mary won, and then we won. Why? Because here's our closing statement that shows with our closing costs, it cost us $72,000. So that's what we came up with. And then when we sold it, they came up with in total $91,000 that came to us. So that was a difference of $19,000. That was our profit. Me and Greg split it, and he put about $9,000 in his pocket. I put about $9,000, and it only took us, in as far as work is concerned, about 7 to 10 hours combined of effort that we put in. Right. So those are the methods that we use. How's that sound? How's that sound to you guys? Does that sound like something that you'd like to be able to see for yourself? Now, not as an investor necessarily, but I'm talking about being able to use and the win-win strategies and the Oscar method to be like Greg, whether you're just trying to get into a place, right? Not trying to make money off of it, but just trying to lock up a place, right? Acquire a place. Or if you are an investor where you can be like a Greg and you could pick up properties and not necessarily flip them if you don't want to flip them, but pick them up and then put them on a rent to own or seller finance basis. We don't need a whole lot of money down, and you're able to, now what? You're able to cash flow and get that cash flow we talked about. With 7 to 10 hours, how many of those do you think you could do? If it only takes 7 to 10 hours, and that's, again, mind you, that's if we are trying to resell it. If you're just trying to put if you're just trying to put yourself in, or if you're just trying to put a renter in behind you for cash flow, it's going to take a lot less than 7 hours of work. So how many of those do you think you can do? How many would you like to do? Let me ask you another question. Would it help to have someone in your corner? Do you think if you're doing this, it would help to have someone like me in your corner to help you talk to the Marys of the world, talk to the landlord, talk to the owner, right? I know for me, I was pretty discouraged. It's not going to take you, if you don't see a property on our site that fits your profile, and we have to now approach some sellers for you or with you, it's not going to take you anywhere close to a year. Right? If they're a property that we own or it's part of our process, you'll be in within 7 to 14 days, 7 to 21 days. But if it's not, you might be looking at 30 to 45 days, maybe 60 at most. Right? It happens still pretty quickly. But with me, when I started making offers and when I first started doing this, I was getting discouraged, and I had the Mike Kelleher. I had the Ender Malik that was, the Mike Kelleher that encouraged me not to give up, right? And then the Ender Malik who accepted that first deal, who gave me the confidence it could be done. If that's something that you think is, going to be beneficial to you, then with the LOI that you're going to get, because everyone that attends this workshop at the end, one of the things we're going to give you is the LOI so that you can approach those sellers and landlords. And we're also going to give you the $1 million purchase offer as well, so that you now will have the paperwork to keep it simple for the seller to keep the process moving smoothly, and to build added credibility for yourself that helps them to see that, man, if when they're dealing with you, they're dealing with someone that has their eye on the ball, not just someone that's just saying, they want you to do something for them, right? And so that's going to help a lot. One thing I want to do is I want to ask your permission for something, and before I even do that, let me just go back and ask the question: Did we accomplish what I said we would accomplish? Remember, I told you I was going to make this process simple. I was going to make it so that you have access to the three things: property, paperwork, and the ability to close. Right? Have we accomplished that? Right? Do you feel confident that you could go on the website if we have something available, find something, find it pretty quickly, and then be able to get access to a property? Do you feel comfortable with that? All right. Do you also feel comfortable that it can be relatively simple? That, I mean, if we handhold you through this process, it's pretty simple, right? I know your first time out doing it, it may sound like, man, like, how do I do that? How do I use the LOI? How do I use the purchase agreement? We'll give you some guidance on that. That's my job, is to make it simple for you. Did I accomplish that? And then the other thing is, I made the promise that by the end of the workshop, you'll have the ability to acquire your next property, your next rent to own seller finance property. If you see something on the website, you can get in there 14 to 21 days. You could have something in writing that says you'll be moving in soon, right? So have I accomplished that? Let me just ask, are there any questions? Are there any questions? So three things you need to acquire property: the investor realty. Go to our website, usainvestorsrealty.com, and USA Properties, and you'll be able to get the properties. The second is the $1 million purchase agreement and the $1 million LOI. You're going to get that, so you have the paperwork, and then the ability to close. So the title companies will walk you through that, right? So you have that. Questions, answers. Any questions? So it sounds like you guys got it, right? The next thing is, I know that being stuck in your situation, being in many of the situations, as I talk to so many of you guys throughout the day or throughout the days, what comes from not being able to get to that goal is the worry, the stress, there's arguing with the spouses and loved ones. I know that there's crying. I know that there's anger. I know that there's frustrations. I know that all that stuff exists in some way, shape, or form. And I know because I talk to you guys. I know because I've been there, right? I know what it's like. And many of you, say to me, man, I'm paying $700 a month in rent that is just going to feed someone else's dream, right? It's, to my landlord who I'm, it's great. I'm glad I have a roof over my head, but man, I have a dream too. I want to be able to provide a home for my family, for myself. I have a dream. I want to be able to start picking up multiple properties so that I can now have the financial resources to take control of my finances, begin to build financial freedom, and fire my boss. And having these conversations, that's why I want to offer you something else. Okay. All right. So I want to ask for some permission. I don't want to assume. I want to ask for permission to offer you something else. Okay. I want to offer you, because you guys are saying it's okay that I offer you this opportunity. And I want to offer you the opportunity and invite you to become a member of our Creative Real Estate Apprentice program. And the reason I want to offer you that is so that you don't have to worry anymore about not being able to provide that place for your family, right? Not being able to have the income so that you can fire your boss, right? So that you can fire your landlord. So if you're an owner occupant, you want, I know you want that place that you can be proud to call your own. If you're that new investor, I know that it's about getting that first place. And if you're more seasoned, I know it's about really just having a system that works so that you can leverage your capital, right? And now have enough income and leverage your resources quickly so you have enough income so that you don't have to put the energy and effort into all these other things that you're stressed out laying up at night thinking about where that next deal is coming from, or how you're going to increase your revenue so that you can make ends meet. And like I've done, right, being able to live that life with the passions, doing the things that you're passionate about and loving, not just going through the motions. So I get that, right? And so with that, I've thought long and hard about this apprentice program and how it could work. And so we developed a beta program. And what you're going to get inside the apprentice program is you're going to get an opportunity to take these systems, these things that I've done. We're going to go way behind the scenes, right? We're going to go behind the scenes and just tear open the curtain of how my system works, right? You're going to learn how to use Oscar, right? The Oscar winning method. You're going to learn how to become that problem solver. You're going to be side by side with me. We're going to be doing it, right? I'm going to be on the phone with you. We're going to be sending you properties, right? You're going to be set up in our system where you're not going to have to go online and look at properties on my site. We're going to be sending them to you, right? Based on the ones that fit your profile. So you're going to be the ones that get them first. You know, if you go online, you see a lot of properties that aren't available, right? And because it's very competitive, people are going on, they're snatching up these properties, they go, right? They go fast. You're going to be a part where now those properties are going to be getting sent to you, right? So you have the first opportunity to approach, right? And so you're going to be able to use the win-win principles and the Oscar-winning methods that I've designed, the proven Oscar-winning methods I've designed, so that you can get that first one. And if that's all you want, praise God, that's it. You got it. You're done, right? But if you eventually the light bulb comes on and you see, man, this thing is going so easy. Why can't I pick up multiple properties so that I can, if you're that owner occupant, if you're coming in with that mindset, or if you're the investor, you're going to want to do more, obviously, because that's what you're here for anyway. So, so you're going to get the ability to do that, and it's going to be systemized. It's so simple, right? So as part of the system, one of the things you're going to get is the no bank qualifying system. And the no bank qualifying system is just as I preached before. You don't need banks to do this. However, one of the things you're also going to get, although we say no banks, is the opportunity, like we've done with others, where you get access to, we know lenders that are out there that will work with you in certain situations, and you'll have access to them, whether you're buying our properties or buying someone else's. Because also sometimes there's opportunities out there where they're not able to necessarily provide you the rent to own or the funding long term, right? And if you were able to close with cash, you can get the deal. You're not getting it at market value. Now you're able to get the discount, significant discount. So now with that, being able to have that lender in your pocket that is able to provide you the funding for that deal, now your options are almost limitless, right? And you don't need that. Still have great, perfect credit for all of that. They already know your situation, so they're willing to work with you. How's that sound? How's that sound to you guys? I mean, do you see the value in that? Does it sound like it's something you could benefit from? Okay. So the next bonus that you're going to get with the Apprentice program is the beta program is going to go for 30 days, right? Every week, we're going to be getting together throughout the week. We're going to have a live session every week with everyone that's there. And then throughout the week, we're going to be getting together doing different things depending on what your situation is and how many offers we're putting in and having to get through, so that landlord or that seller that's contacting you back, not where you're contacting them, but that's contacting you back, just wants to know the details of how you want to put together your rent to own with them, right? So you're going to get 30-day access to me and my team that's going to help you. And the other thing is, with this, as I thought about this program, the hard thing for me was understanding in doing this, especially as a beta, I'm going to have to start putting a lot of things to the side so that I can devote the time and energy, because my goal is to have 100% success, right? And that means everyone in the program will be homeowners within the next 30 to 45 days, right? You'll have your paperwork drawn up, and if you're not in, you're going to be headed in that direction. You're going to know which property you're picking up, right? And so that's my goal. So the program's going to run 30 days where you have 30 days access to me, but you're going to get more than that. As I'm putting things to the side, that means the deals that I normally do, because that's where my income comes from. My income is from real estate, doing deals, and my portfolios that I generate revenue from. That's where the majority of my income. I do make money off of my training, but you can see that I do deals, right? That's where my income's coming from. So with that, I'm giving up these opportunities. So think about what I did with Greg. I made $9,000 in less than 10 hours worth of work, right? So that's like $1,000 an hour, right? And there are deals like that I'm doing. I'm not joint venturing. I'm just doing on my own. That's $20,000 that I put in my pocket in less than 10 hours because I'm not training someone. So the value of that is significant, and that's worth over $5,000, right? Because my team is also going to be working for you as well. The third bonus that you're going to get in a creative real estate apprentice program, and let me ask you before I even ask you that, is can you see the value in, because my mind kind of works like the Rain Man when I look at deals, right? When I look at deals, like I've been doing this stuff so long, I can do them in my sleep. So when we're talking to people, or when we're looking at your deals, or when you're bringing something to us, or when you're identifying something that was sent over to you, and you say, Jim, I like this. We're approaching this landlord, this seller, and they said yes, right? Being able to put it together is just so simple, and you'll eventually be doing the same thing as well. So we'll be there working with you. Do you see the value in that? Do you see the value in having that experience of over 700 deals, or nearly 700 deals that I've done over the years, both as a buyer and a seller, right? Not just as a seller, but both as an investor, right? And then the third bonus is the mastermind community. So although the formal training will end in 30 days, what's going to happen is you're also going to get, as a member of our apprentice program, access to our mastermind community. So you're going to be talking still with each other. I'm in the community all the time, so you're still going to be in there. If you're still doing deals, you're never going to lose access to the apprentice program. It's just the formal sessions that you're going to be doing weekly. You won't have to do those anymore. You just go to mastermind community, or you're going to be sending us just the regular messages or whatever, and that's how you're going to get your questions answered. But you'll be interacting now with people that are doing deals just like you, people that are in the situations that you were in, people that are before you, that are after you. You'll be able to help and encourage. You'll be able to get help and encouragement. So the Mike Kelleher's of the world, it's automated now for you, and you can do that at any time. And then also the same thing, my team's in there, I'm in there, and we'll be able to help you with whatever you're trying to do, whether you're just trying to get the first one, or you're trying to, the light bulb came on and you said, hey, Jim, you know what? I'm ready to step it up. This was simple. I got my first one. I'm ready to get more. So now you don't go through the course again. You just, you'll still have access to information, but you won't have to go through the formal trainings every week, because you have the mastermind community. And then you're also going to be able to go back to the live recordings of all the live training sessions that we've done with you guys, and the other sessions that we're doing with other students as well. And you're going to be able to see those 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So anytime you need to access them, if you were burning the candle on both ends when I was working myself out of my job, when I was trying to fire my employer, where, I work during the day and afterwards I'm coming home and getting busy, now you have access to that information anytime, right? So that you can refer back. And that's worth $1,000, because we're going to record all of that, right, and give it to you on our platform. So with that, you're getting all these things in our program. And the reason why we're doing it is because I want you to be successful. My goal is to provide you with me. My goal is to provide you with the tools and the resources that I use, and to provide you with the clarity so that you can get all the noise out of your way so that now you can accomplish that goal, right? Accomplish your ultimate goal of becoming the homeowner, of acquiring your first place. That ultimate goal, I mean, the house is just the tangible piece, right? But the intangible, that's really the goal. The goal is not the house. The goal is having the house so that you can have the stability for your family, right? The goal is having the properties so that you can now have the financial resources to live your life of passion, to do the things that you want to do, to spend the time with your family, your loved ones, to travel so that you don't have that stress. That's the resource, right? Those are the tangible things that you can touch, see, and feel so that you can get the things that you really can't, that you really want, right? And so that's my goal, is to get you there, to get you to that point. And that's my commitment, right? My commitment to you is to provide you with those things. But then the other commitment is to get you to a point where you don't need me anymore, right? My goal is to get you to a point where, like Greg, you don't need me anymore. After you do your first one, then you won't need me anymore. You can do it again and again and again. But if you need me, we're right here. We're always going to be here as one of our students, our members, right? And um, so let's talk about again what you're going to get with the system. You're going to get the no bank qualifying system for $14.97, the value. You're going to get the 30-day access to me and my team for $49.97 value. You're going to get access to the Creative Real Estate Apprentice Program, Mastermind Community. That's $14.97 in value. You're going to get access to the live recording of all the live coaching sessions that you're going to get with the rest of the students. You're going to always have access to that, 24/7 access to that, and that's at a $9.97 value. And the total value that you're getting in that program, I'm trying to just overwhelm you guys with the value, is $89.88. Right? That's what you're getting in the program. That's what you're getting. So let me ask you this question, because as we talk about the value, if what I'm giving you, if all it did was help you to find your dream house, if all it did was save you time and money and headache, would it be worth it? Would the $8,900 that for the first house? Because think about it, if you're only paying $700 a month in rent, that's $8,400 a year going to someone else. It's going to someone else for their dreams. Some of you are paying even more than that, right? You got, if it's $800 you're paying in rent, if it's 800 is $9,600 a year, 900 is $10,800 a year, $1,000 is $12,000 a year. If you're paying $1,500 a month, that's $18,000 a year, and if you're paying $2,000 a month, that's $24,000 a year. I know that is very frustrating looking at those numbers. I know when you have a dream and and that money's going to support someone else's dream instead of yours, someone else's goal instead of yours, someone else's desire and vision for their lives, their families, instead of yours. If all this did, my program, you making a decision to become a part of the apprentice program, if all it did was to get you just the one house, and it saves you time and money and the headache of doing it, would it be worth it? If you making a decision to join our apprentice program and get started, if all it did was help you add at least 5 properties as an investor to your portfolio and earn you twice that investment that you're going to make today back, would it be worth it? Can you envision what your life would be like? Would it be worth it? Those 5 properties. The other thing I'd ask, if all it did was, if it helped you have more time to spend with your family, your loved ones, to take a vacation, without, again, burning the candle on both ends to make ends meet, would it be worth it? Having a system where your investments, the time and effort, you're putting 3 to 5 hours in on a deal, on a transaction, and it's paying you back way more, right? You don't need thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to build a portfolio and to build the cash flow, right? You can now accelerate your cash flow and begin really building wealth. If you had a system that really now worked for you and didn't put you in a situation where you're working for it. You're a slave to your own system, to your own business, where it gives you the ability to see the light at the end of the tunnel, how you can get off of that life's treadmill, that hamster wheel. Would it be worth it? Well, I think so. In fact, I know so, right? I know so because I've been there. I've been there. So I had two choices when I came up with this program. And the two options were I could charge the full amount for the program, the $89.88, so that I could focus on giving you more value and ensuring that you succeed in your real estate endeavors, whether it's your business or you're just able to get your first home. The other option was I could charge a low price and sell it to as many people as possible. The first option was difficult because everyone can't afford $9,000, right? It's a tough option, but obviously I realized a long time ago in this business that, doing rent to own and seller finance, that you can't help everyone. And I used to think I could, but I can't, right? But remember, the thing that's allowed me to be successful is win-win, right? That's been the method that's allowed me to be successful over the years, is the win-win principle. And I try to look at that in everything that I'm doing, not just me winning, right? But whoever I'm working with, they're winning too, and focused on their wins first. So the other thing is my passion, right? My passion is I enjoy helping people. I want to help, right? If I think there's going to be results to doing that, then I want to help, because I wouldn't have gotten here either if someone didn't help me. So that option was something I had to eventually just throw out the door. I didn't like it. The second option that I talked about, which is pricing it really, really, really low. The problem with that is if I cut a lot of corners in the course and the quality of the course that I provide for you guys will be paying, but I'm not going to get 100% success rate. And if I can't get a 100% success rate, I don't want to do it. If I can't ensure that you guys are going to get into that first home, be able to acquire property, then I don't want to do it. And so I had to come to grips with that and say I can't really cut corners on the program that I'm gonna provide you guys. I still got to give quality. I just can't do it at that price. And so I'm gonna have to eat it, right? I'm gonna have to eat something, because obviously if I'm giving up a lot of the opportunity costs, the deals that I'm doing, then I had to figure out how to do it so that it's still win-win for me. And what I did was I figured out with the beta that I'm doing now is how to systemize that as well, so that I can help as many people as possible and do it efficiently with me and my team. So what you're going to get is you're still going to get the no bank qualifying system for $14.97. You're going to get the 30-day access to me and my team for $49.97. You're going to get the creative apprenticeship program, the mastermind community, for $14.97. You're going to get the live recordings of the creative apprentice live coaching sessions, and that's still a total value of $89.88. But the other thing I'm also throwing in, for whoever the first 20 students, as we start our beta program, you guys are going to really be the lucky ones, in that this is one where I'm going to be working so closely with you guys. There's some things that I'm tweaking during this process, and in my tweaking, that means I have to spend even more time with you. So you're going to get a lot of intimate time with me that the future students won't necessarily get, but they're going to benefit from the time that you got, because now, as we've automated and systemized that process a little bit better, they're going to be able to use it and get through it a lot faster too. So they're going to still get the results, but now I don't have to spend as much time, and I can help a lot more people. So that was my thinking. That's how we thought, and that's how we came up with this idea. So it's the first, the beta program is the one where you guys are going to have the huge benefit, because you're getting the intimate time. And then, if you like to spend time with me, and then, but the first 20 students, because that's all we're doing. We're only going to allow this to be open up to 20 students. Does that make sense? You guys like that? So the first 20 students, that's it. What you're also going to get is you're going to get access and an invitation to my 30-day Airbnb Empire Masterclass. So my Airbnb Empire Masterclass is also a teaching that I use, because I use these same methods to grow both my homeless ministry, and I've used this method to grow my Airbnb portfolio. And both of them, I have cash flow of over $100,000 each, right? And the Airbnb, I did that in less than a year, and roughly around a year. And then the homeless, I added an additional 25 units to that, to using these methods, right? And that's something we're going to get into detail with you. So you're going to get access to that, and you're going to be able to attend that 30-day masterclass as well, right? For free. And that within itself, yeah, this is actually a picture of my Airbnb, how much we've made. It started, this was the beginning of March, so I got to update it. But beginning of March, we were already at $35,000. And these are a lot of the reviews that we've gotten as well. And so for the first 20 students, you're going to still get the bank qualifying course, the 30-day access to me and my team, the Creative Real Estate Apprentice Program Mastermind Community. You're going to get access to that, the 24-hour access of the recordings of the live coaching sessions. And then you're also going to get now the 30-day Airbnb training for the masterclass, and that $29.97. That's a total value of $11,985. So I'm talking about win-win strategy. I'm getting deeper and deeper, but what am I doing that's changing? What I'm going to do is I'm going to offer to you guys, as I mentioned, I'm not going to charge you full value, but I'm offering it to you guys today for only $14.97. So for $14.97, you're going to have access to all those things, and I'm going to give you the ability to get started today. You're going to be able to access the properties. You're going to be able to get access to me and my team. So don't wait, because it's going to close out after the first 20, right? So where I want you to go is jimgscoachingclub.com/go, right? So you're going to go to jimgscoachingclub.com/go. I want you to get over there. I want you to go jimgscoachingclub/go. Now, I know a couple of times you guys asked the question, you have questions about, is it just for me, or can I bring a spouse or a significant other? Yes, it's going to be just for you. I'm sorry, you and your spouse, right? So you can bring another to both the mastermind, the 30-day seller finance, and the 30-day Airbnb Empire. So you're going to be able to get access to both of those, and it's for you and your significant other or your partner. The other question is, how do we have properties available now? Yes, we do. You'd have to go online. Now, all the properties that are there on the site are not necessarily all the properties that we see. We don't update our site as frequently as we update. You're going to get your daily updates. So as a member, you're now going to be getting daily updates of the properties that fit your profile. Only the ones that fit your profile. They're going to come to your email. You're going to be able to access them also on a couple other resources that we have that are designated just for our members. I mean, we do that. Remember what I said, right? My goal is to have 100% success rate, right? And so I'm not worried about your credit right now. I'm not worried about how much money you have down. I just need to know you have the ability to afford the property, you have the ability to take care of the home, and you have a real need and desire. So if you fit those parameters, then I want you to go over to Jim G's Coaching Club/go, jimgscoachingclub.com/go, and let's get started. I want to get you going. The other thing is, do you have to pay everything today? I've had that question come across all the time. And if you want the bonus of the Airbnb Mastermind training, then yes, you got to pay for that today. The other thing that happens if you pay today is I'm going to schedule a live session almost immediately with everyone that's paying in full today. And the reason I'm scheduling that live session is because we're going to start the training in a couple weeks. And what I want to do is I want to get you guys started before the training in the next week or two. And what I want to do is I want to formulate your strategy based on your resources. So how much time you have, what your situation is, what kind of knowledge you have, your background. I'm going to look at all those things, all your resources, and then we're going to formulate what's the best strategy for you. And then by the time the course starts, You may already be in something, or you may already be starting to get into something, so that you'll have a lot more to offer when we start the training, offer by way of knowledge and experience, and you'll be able to just accelerate the learning process because it's all going to be very real to you, right? So that's what you're also going to get. You're going to get that one-on-one coaching, the first session, that's going to happen very soon. So again, before I talk any more about that, don't wait, right? Don't wait. Get started. Get over there. Pay in full. Let me know that you paid in full, right? Come back to me. Tell me that you've paid in full. I want to know. Tell me that you're paid in full and when you need to be in your place by, right? So the other answer to that question is if you don't have it all today. Now, I know that everybody doesn't have $14.97 today, right? And if you don't have it today, or I know you got people that they have it, they would have to stretch to get it, right? They'd have to really make some serious sacrifices to get it. And I guess I would just say this, like, how much is all of that? How much is your dream of owning your home worth to you? How much of relieving the stress that comes from not being able to accomplish your dreams, how much is it worth to you? Is it worth the $14.97? Is it worth it? Like, I know so many times people spend so much more money on things that are not worth it. If you're paying $700 a month, that's 2 months in rent. Where's it going? Yeah, it keeps a roof over your head. I understand that. But after you pay that, you're going to have to pay it again next month. And what do you have to show for it toward your dream? Well, I know what your landlord has to show for it. So if it's something you really want, if you really have a need and desire, and I told you there's 3 things that qualify you: your ability to afford it, your ability to take care of a home, and the need or the desire. If you really have a need or desire to own your own home, for whatever that reason is, whichever category you fall into, then you could come up with the $14.97. But I also know that there's some that don't, right? I know there's some that don't. And so one of the things that I've thought about, and I'm still kind of in between on this one, is that 2 things need to happen, right? I structured it so that you could get started and pay on a monthly basis, right? And if you paid on a monthly basis, it would be your first payment today would be $397. That's only if you get in today. Like, after today, you may not be able to do that because I'm still going back and forth. The reason why I'm going back and forth is because after you pay today, we'll start the course, then after about a month, you could just cancel, right? Or not pay anymore, but yet you've gotten access to everything. So I'm kind of, going back and forth, but I don't really operate in that mode. Like, my mindset is not trying to figure out how people can take advantage of me or how they're going to take advantage. I could care less. Like, if I'm doing this, I'm doing it for the right reason, and I'm not going to worry about that. Also, I also believe that once you get in and I can perform, like, you're not going to want to leave. Once you get into the mastermind, once you get to know my team, once you get to know your classmates, once you get to know the other mastermind community, you're not going to want to leave anyway, right? So you're going to continue to pay, and so you'll pay the $397 and you'll pay another 4 installments of $397. But by the time your second installment is due, you would have already gotten through the course. By then you'll have your home, right? So so that's just, I'm kind of putting my money where my mouth is in that sense. I believe that you're going to love it, you're going to be successful, and you're not going to cancel. But this is also risk-free. In the event you don't get the results, you're not happy with how things go, I don't want your money. I don't need it, right? So all you have to do is get back in touch with us. Let us know you've been working the program. I don't care. Let us know. No questions asked. I don't want your money. Take it, right? We'll send it right back to you, right? So I want you to know you can get in risk-free. It's risk-free. You don't have any risk, but you got to get in today, right? You have to get in today. Take the leap of faith, right? I don't deserve the money. if you don't perform. I want you to see that my main concern is your win. If you win, then I'll win. And then that's how we get the win-win. But there's a third win. You win, I win, and then the people that come after you will win. Right? There's actually multiple wins because imagine, as we're out there and we're doing deals, that landlord's going to win. That seller's going to win. Right? If you're selling more properties, the new buyers that your renters that are working with you, they're going to win. So it's about winning. Right? So it's about winning. I want you guys to develop that win-win philosophy. When you develop that, that's gonna be the driving force to you succeeding in this and whatever else you do. So I want you to go over today. I want you to go to jimgscoachingclub.com/go. I want you to join up. Right? I want you to join us. Right? I'm looking so forward to working with you and getting you started. So I want you to join us. But one other thing I guess I want to just say is that if in the event you guys, there's still just a little bit of question about, that you may have that you don't necessarily want to share here. And, but it's maybe a couple things that you're just wondering about before you jump in. Then this is what I'm going to ask you. Why don't you go and set up an online session with me, right? 15, 20-minute session, and let's go over and address that. Let's address it. I'm going to give you guys a special link to do that if you want to do that. And that link is jimgscoachingclub.com/meet, right? jimgscoachingclub.com/meet. And I want you to go. I'm going to turn the webcam back on. So I want you guys to go there if you still have question about that, right? If you still have some question about anything and you want to address it, whether it be you and your significant other, and you want to talk to me personally, then let's do that, right? Go to jimgscoachingclub.com/meet, and you'll be able to schedule a meeting with me. Be able to get it done, schedule it very quickly, and then we can kind of talk through that and see what we can do to get you going. All right. So with that, you're getting a lot of opportunity, right? I'm giving you a lot of opportunity to say yes. I'm giving you a lot of opportunity to accomplish that goal. I'm giving you a lot of opportunity to change your current situation, right? I know that the current situation that you're in is not one that you're happy about. You're grateful. Right? I'm hoping that you're grateful where you are, right? Because for two reasons. One, you've created it. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but wherever we are, we've created ourselves, right? But in creating it, we may not have realized it's going to lead here, right? So, and it doesn't mean we have to stop, right? So we're grateful for where we are. We're grateful for the blessings that we have, our families, our health, the warm roof over our head, the fact that we have the money to pay that rent, right? We're grateful that we have these opportunities, but it doesn't mean we have to stop dreaming and visioning and progressing to ultimately what it is we want. And so I'm giving you a lot of opportunities right now. You're in a situation where you're ready to go to the next step. You're not happy with where you are, right? And so if where you are was where you wanted to be, then obviously you wouldn't be here right now talking to me, right? You wouldn't be here learning from me. But the other thing is, Albert Einstein gave his definition of insanity was to keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. So if you're happy with where you are, then keep doing what you're doing. Right? But if you're not happy, if you want to change this situation that you're in, then become a member, join us. Do something different, join us. Right? I'm making it very easy for you to do that. And take a leap of faith. Right? My goal is win. Right? 100%, 100% success rate. That's it. I'm going to spend a lot of time with you guys, a lot of intimate time. So with that said, I want you to go over jimgscoachingclub.com/go, get started, or jimgscoachingclub.com/meet, or set up the appointment. One or the other. I want you to get started doing something so that we can get you into your home. So I want to thank you guys for, again, the time that you've afforded me. I know we've gone over. I want to be respectful of your time, and I thank you for allowing me to talk to you about that other opportunity. And I really, 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 really am looking forward to working with you and helping you get to that goal. So with that said, it's probably a great time for us to just close out. And I want to say thank you. Looking forward to seeing you. And God bless you.